2 hours ago. We've had her in headset for about 2 weeks, no problem. And then, like just as she was getting ready to come on, her controller stopped working, both of them. And
Oh.
happened, and so I
Well,
was
I
able to
can't.
get her to
There's
start rolling.
nothing.
She goes, but
Sorry,
my
I'm just going into
controllers
this
still
room.
don't work.
There's nothing I can do
On
right
stage,
now
she was sitting on stage. I said,
because
you don't need controllers. Just talk.
it won't let me make you moderator because you already are.
Just talk.
So it's grayed
Don't
out.
worry. And
Hey,
then she goes,
Serenity.
well, I want to look down,
Serenity.
Yeah.
but I can't, and I have to
Diamond's
sit
Mhm.
not.
there and turn it.
Diamond's missing this
So,
this
you know,
event. Okay.
it was
Okay. No
interesting.
problem.
So, I'm gonna
And
go
I
talk.
don't know. I
We're gonna
don't think
start
we'll
in
see
just a few
Karen
minutes.
either. I'm not
People
sure
usually
about
pop
that.
in a little bit late, but we
Right.
usually
So it was a
portal
surprise
people
that she
over
was
to
here at
the
the
next
last
talk.
one. She's going to
Just
cover
open
the
a
two
portal.
front row ones we
But the
have.
young woman at the other
The
Yeah.
desk
other one is
can't
this
come
Um,
afternoon with
like
Tom, and I think there
20
will be
minutes
lots
ago.
of people at that one.
So everybody left that
Donna, on my
portal
list,
into this one.
Ariel's
So
not a
we'll
moderator.
wait for some people to wander in.
That's
We'll
right,
start in just a
because
few minutes,
I
okay?
Diamond added
Okay.
her while
Okay, I'm gonna go
while she
talk
was
to Serena.
adding mods last
I
night.
might have to jump out of
So I haven't
headset for 1
updated the
second.
list. That's right.
Oh, right, got you. Okay. Right.
And I didn't.
I don't have any. I don't have any powers apart from moderator ones in here at the moment.
To this,
Oh, hang on. Hang on. Hang on. Hang on. Oh, where are you? Oh,
Bless
bless
you.
you.
My
Okay, there
headset.
you go.
Whenever I sneeze, my headset. Thank you. Got it.
Donna, I need 2 seconds. I'm gonna jump out of head. I'm gonna put my headset down and be right back. Okay? And then we'll
Okay,
start. Is that okay?
Ariel. Yes, it's fine.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, I just I just checked again and it was there. I don't know what this. There is gremlins in the system. Gremlins, I say.
Don't bite me. Don't bite dogs. No. Hi, Ian. I'm going to sit over here and moderate. Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. No, I'm things I'm moderating.
Jan, during your Q&A, do you want Serenity to help you with Q&A by picking the people and amplifying their voice, and you just have to deal with their questions?
Yes, please. That would be
Okay.
wonderful.
Serenity's perfect at it, so great.
Donna?
Yeah?
I couldn't find the raise hand button last time I looked in the panel.
Neither could I. What's the deal with that? Okay.
So I couldn't put the raise hand up, even if I wanted to.
Yeah. I didn't know if it was only me or what.
I've got toggle mute all, and I haven't got raise hand.
Okay, I'm ready.
And so what I'll do is I'll head to the campfire during this talk and see if I can do something in time for your Q&A, okay? Yep.
Are you ready?
Yep, let's go for it. I'm ready to take a picture.
Okay, I'm gonna go over here. Okay, everyone, thank you all for coming to the talk. We usually start our conference talks by having everybody that's come and joined us to be up on stage so we can get a picture with our presenter, Jan, right here in the middle, and all of your audience surrounding you. So Jan, if you want to come right here in the middle. And then I'm going to allow everybody can come up on stage now. Just make sure there's nobody in front of you. And there's a few more people popping in right now.
Hey, good. Where are we? Bless you, Ariel. Is that you?
Yeah.
Okay, you guys. Now, what I want you guys all to do is I want you all to put up emojis, and I'll tell you when to stop, okay? So if you start, it's going to take a while for my camera to kick in, but just start doing emojis and I'll tell you when to start. Lydia, is that you that I see over there? Okay, I think it'll be 5, 4, 4, 3, and I got it. I got it. Okay, you guys are good. Thank you so much.
How are you?
Okay, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to unceremoniously kick you all from the stage now. There you go. Everybody's off the stage. Everybody is? Okay, there we go. And Jan, did you want to try your audio super fast? And then just to make sure you're on megaphone and we can all hear you?
Yes, absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Does it work?
Can you guys all throw up hearts if you can hear Jan?
Yes, can you hear me all?
Say it one more time. Say testing 1, 2.
Am I testing 1, 2?
Yeah,
Am I coming through okay?
I'm gonna get out of your way and let you do your thing. Oh.
How are you?
Right, well, I will just start off now, and I'd like to welcome you all, and I'd like to start just by thanking Donna, Angelina, and the whole students in VR team. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with you guys and come up to this moment in time. As you can probably see and also hear, then it's been a few years ago that I was a student or pupil myself, and the intention was that we were actually going to have some students up here, but because of a number of issues to do with a certain COVID-19 situation we've got at the moment, then it wasn't possible this time round. But so I'll be the Danish contribution this time round. But next time, I can guarantee you that from Denmark, we will have some wonderful, amazing students that will tell much more about what's going on in their education and in their setting in schools, high schools, technical colleges, etc. Because there are really some very, truly amazing things going on here in Denmark at the moment. But for today, I'll just introduce some of those things to you in picture form and in story form. And it's really in the context, so it's really just looking at how education, jobs and skills, they fit together, and some of these virtuality things or content and materials we got at the moment that links those. So trying to look at virtuality in a different way. So my name is Jan Stahlberg, or Stahlberg, and I'm the founder and also CEO at the company Silicon Hagen. And at the moment, we work a lot with virtuality and how virtuality is used in schools and high schools and also universities here in Denmark, but also across Europe. So the presentation is called VR, Empowering the Next Generation of Scientists, Apprentices and Frontline Workers. Big title. And what did that mean? Well, I sort of tried to think, well, how are we using, for example, virtuality in STEM education? So for all the science subjects, physics, biology, chemistry, etc. But then I thought, no, it'd be very unfair just to again say virtual reality is just for something to do with science, because it's not. It's also to do with many of the other types of education that we actually have around that will lead to carpentry, bricklayers, healthcare assistants, paramedic workers, doctors, etc. So I extended it, and the more I extended it, then I thought, well, we also need to get, and we also need to get, and we also need to get, and the title got longer and longer. So the presentation is really to try and show examples of how we're bringing jobs and skills into the classrooms, and also why. So what's the purpose of this, and what is it that virtuality can actually do different than we can't already have now, with people coming in explaining and students going out to explore on workplaces what it's like to actually work there. So what is it virtuality can actually do different and more over and above what we already got? And I'd like to introduce you to some examples from existing virtual reality content that's used right at this moment in time in high schools, and there are also some examples of stuff that's being developed at the moment. And finally, I'd just like to open up for comments and questions from all of you. Get the right way. So, just to kick off then, there will be lots of pictures coming up and lots of more interesting things for you to look at. But this part here is just really to set the scene a little bit. So why are we doing this? What is this presentation actually trying to do, and where's it trying to get to? First of all, I have heard many times from students that, oh, I'm no good at this. I can't do this. I don't understand it. I'm not really good at science, or I'm not really good with my hands, or creative things. No, I'm not good at that. And so really, it's trying to fight that, because it tells more about how we perceive things and how we see our daily life and also reality. And the virtuality, as I've seen it, as I've experienced it in schools and with students, it fights that. It actually starts to cut straight across all those, I'm no good at this, or I can't do this, I don't want to do this. So it's able to stretch us, to get us to think and explore and experience things in different ways. And it also, when we're looking at jobs and skills and how we bring those into the classroom, we can actually now bring real life experiences and practice really close to students and how they actually experience it. So from real life, what's going on out there? What's going on in different countries? We might imagine certain jobs and skills being made, but how does it feel like? And can we actually start to understand a lot more if we bring those experiences and what's going on out in the world close and into the classroom, without having to travel and without actually having to go out and access equipment, expensive and difficult to use equipment. And it's also about jobs. When students, and when we introduce certain jobs and skills to students, it can be boring and oh, that doesn't sound like very interesting, or what's it like? And changing that from a boring to interesting, to something that triggers, something that interests students. And it's also about learning through failing and succeeding. I think especially failing, because often we experience in our classrooms that failing, is something that we should avoid. And also when we get ready to get from the education into what we really want to do in jobs, how are we actually setting that up to failing is a real part of actually working up there, and actually getting students and getting everybody to try that out. So by failing, you're actually learning something, and you're actually getting better at something by failing. And that's a success in itself. And jobs and skills is also about better understanding what are all those jobs out there. So what does it mean? How do we actually work at different things, and how do we actually start telling these stories from the workers that are actually working out there, that are actually experiencing, and they are showing the way of how jobs will be in the future. And it's creating an interest to find out more. And as I've already said a number of times, it's about jobs of the future, and how we are all the time are being assisted by technology and also automation. So what does technology actually mean for how we both educate, but also bring us as students out into the real world and into the jobs? Is it something to be afraid of, or is it something that we can actually show and also experience? Technology is a tool, it's a part of how we can actually bring ourselves and help us in becoming better and also shaping the jobs of the future. So what can a virtual reality actually do different? Well, it allows us to experience and try things that are difficult or impossible in real life. So, and I'll get into some of those things in a moment, but it means that we don't have to be afraid that we, in terms of storytelling or in terms of trying or in terms of actually introducing items and subjects in education, we don't have to be afraid anymore that something seems to be too difficult or impossible to explain. Virtual reality can actually bring us into those situations or bring the knowledge and bring the experiences into the classroom. It also allows us to make mistakes at no cost. Anything from maybe building a house to some setting up lab results or lab tests, or also going out actually trying to do the work of someone like an electrician or a healthcare assistant. So making mistakes in virtuality is a near reality experience, but it doesn't have to cost anything when we actually make mistakes. It also gives us the chance to work with expensive equipment, $1 million equipment or machines that we can now suddenly bring into the classroom and for students to actually play with or see what it's like working with. Sitting behind some very expensive vehicles and standing in a laboratory with $1 million equipment, and we can actually start to introduce and actually get to know some of these equipment without having to buy them. And it also allows us to practice working with people, and it could also be patience. Working with people, and then that sort of sense of what does it mean to work as part of a team? What does it mean to meet someone that's not like me, but I can work with? How do I do that? And so you can practice that. You can also practice how you start presenting. If you're not very confident in how you present your own information or how you present to other people, you can actually practice that. And you can also start to understand how do I talk to a patient? How do I actually walk in? How do I do certain, how is there a routine or maybe not to how I do things? And we can do this. We can actually practice this very, very close to reality. So when it actually comes to actually bringing the students out from the classroom into the real world, then they're a lot better able to understand, and also they can actually find ways of doing it in real life. And then it's about repeating and sharing experiences. Virtuality is excellent in getting back to the start or trying something again that people weren't quite sure of what it was and wanting to be better at it. And then it actually allows us to show what you're good at, to actually show jobs, employers, teachers, instructors, whoever it is. So you can actually see, I can actually do this. I do understand it. I have got the skills to be able to come in here and actually maybe start working or maybe also do some more studying. So you can actually show by going through the different actions that you're actually good at doing that particular skill at that particular job. I'd just like to show you first of all this picture here, and the first area I'd like to talk about is the area about science jobs. And these two pictures are, as you can see through the headsets, it's a number of years ago, but it's still very, very excellent in actually showing the reaction of some people that come into these virtual reality science laboratories for the very, very first time. And it is that sort of wow moment. Oh, is this what it feels like? Or is that what it's like? So these science labs that have been made by Danish edtech company Labster, it allows us to create that $1 million laboratory feeling, experience, working environment that before virtuality would be virtually impossible to actually introduce and also create. the CTO and some of the people developing these laboratory labs for Labster, what they introduce these laboratories as is really to they call it a $1 million laboratory in your pocket, and that's what it is. It's actually carrying around millions of dollars of equipment all the time and being able to sort of pull it out and say, look, now I want to do biology. Now I want to do chemistry. Now I do want to do physics. And you can get close to the place and laboratories as it would be in the real life. Here you can see some screenshots from some of these virtual reality laboratory simulations. And Arizona State University, what they've done is that they've made the world's first online biology degree, and they've got 30 modules that is solely taught in virtual reality. And they're able to do this because they need to be able to reach out to lots of students across the country, in the US, it could also be the world. So without them having to come to one of these very high-tech laboratories, they can introduce all those skills and the ability to work as a lab technician through virtual reality. And it also gives that ability to use virtual reality where you can travel in. So you can travel into the story. You can travel into understanding what it's like to work with these DNA strings. What does it mean by cutting them? What does it mean by changing the genetics? And you can go in, you can introduce blood streams and going through the blood and all the rest of it. So you can go right down to the mini nano parts of where you can start traveling through the body. So not only can you be the lab technician, but you can also now start to experience what is the result of your work. So when you're looking at science jobs, virtual reality extends, it goes broader than just an experience. It gives that reality feeling of both being in the actual room, but also a reality of what is it you're working on and what is the result of it. So that is that aha moment that we saw from the pictures before, where, oh my goodness, I just did that. I just made that. And I have spoken to so many students, right down to the age of 10, that have tried these high school and also university experiences that is based on science jobs, where it's something, I really like this, and it motivates, I want to do more of it. And that's what virtual reality can do in terms of science, because I hear lots of students saying, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at maths, I'm not good at biology. And we need to get beyond that. We need to get all that down. So no, look, have a go at this. See if you're actually good at it. See if you understand it. See if it's something you're interested in. See if it's something that actually makes you move much forward in this subject here. And I experienced so many times in classrooms that students actually, even the ones that thought they didn't like it, suddenly start to get interested. Whether they will continue it, it's a whole different thing. But it's the interest, it's the passion, it's where it can bring you. If you move on to sort of some of the building professions, these are pictures of a program that's being made at the moment. It's being made, and it's introducing how to drive a Bobcat lift truck, and how you transport different items across from warehouses. And these types of jobs are jobs that are very much in demand at the moment, not just in Denmark, not just in Europe, not just in the United States, across the whole world. But this allows us to use virtual reality and introduce these skills and these ways of working into the classroom. So by using controllers, by using gamepads, we can recreate that very near feeling of what it's like to sit with these joysticks in the actual cockpit of the Bobcat. And you can see some of these pictures on here where you actually have that very near feeling of sitting in there, and you will have to both put the handbrake on, you have to speed up the engine, etc., etc. So you've got many, many things you have to think about all the time, and you can try it out and you can be absolute rubbish at it, or you can be very, very good at it. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you get that feeling of what it's like to actually go in and start working with some of these. And some students will actually surprise themselves. Some of you students that are sitting out there will be very, very surprised how good you will be at working and driving and doing this sort of work. And even more important, not even more important, but just as important, the hard hat is there. And the hard hat I've put in because safety is also something that we can actually do very, very well in virtuality, to make sure we're actually safe at the workplace, and to allow students to actually understand why safety isn't it might sound like a boring subject, but what would happen if we didn't do all these safety things. So the hard hat really there on that picture is to also to say that we can create in virtuality what would happen if you do not actually keep safe. So, for example, in this, if you haven't got a hard hat on, you would actually recreate that sort of what would happen if something fell on top of the Bobcat. What would happen if you step out of the Bobcat without any hard hat on and you had a fall or something happen? So you can create that, so you would have that understanding, and once you put the hard hat on, then you would actually get that understanding of how this situation is actually different. The next picture is a picture of a virtuality program for carpenters that's being made at the moment. And as you can see there, the logo is sort of a Danish logo with Danish writing, and it's a center of excellence for vocational education. So these high schools in Denmark, they educate the future bricklayers, carpenters, healthcare workers, lab technicians, IT designers, etc. So all these type of works, type of these jobs that are essential for every part of society that we've got, in making sure that every part actually hangs together. So for carpenters, this virtuality experience here is to put a thermal camera in their hands. A thermal camera that they're very unlikely to be able to actually handle and also work with, because one, it's too expensive. Two, it might be just a little bit more complicated than to actually explain and get them to understand how you actually use it on a real house. Holding it in your hand is one thing, but actually taking it out to a house is a whole different thing. What does it mean? What am I looking for? And how can I actually use it? So for carpenters, it's very, very important to use this tool to understand what's going wrong with the house. Where is the insulation wrong? Where do I need to fix problems? What about the windows? What about the roof? Etc., etc. What this does is actually allows us to hold this camera, and you can go around the house outside and also inside, and you have to find some problems. And you have to not only find them, but you also have to know what you need to do with them. So you need to do a report as well. So this is a walkthrough for students with a tool that either is too expensive or they might not actually be able to use until many, many years into their carpentry experience. But here, they will leave school with that experience and being able to say to the workplace, I know how it works, here's the proof. I can actually do it, I know I can do this type of report. So it gives that extra thing that you can take out from the classroom into the workplace, and being able to show that you're actually very, very good at doing something that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to do without the virtual reality. Moving over to the the healthcare type of things. Virtuality and how we put that into place and how we use it for frontline workers is actually really, really quite amazing. Because many of these jobs actually explaining and getting students to experience what it's like being in healthcare situations. That could be it could be in nursing homes, it could be in hospitals, it could be in the citizens' own homes. So what does it mean actually standing in a room, having someone in front of you, having to treat them? What things do I need to know, and what things do I need to change to be able to do my work properly? And as you can see here, the logo here again is a Danish logo, and in Danish called Videnscenter for Velfærdsteknologi, and it's it's a center of excellence for welfare technology based in Copenhagen. And these examples I've got here are for educating healthcare assistants. So bringing that sort of health aspect into the education and using virtuality. The other picture I've got up here is a picture of how virtuality started this journey and how the students were able to start using virtuality, and that was through 360-degree videos. Actually understanding through 360 videos what it's like living for some of these type of patients that you will meet out in the real world. So you would get been shown around by a resident in one of these centers, what it's like to actually see and experience a patient that has mental health problems, both when they're up and also very much when they're actually down. So what does it mean to have a manic patient, so very much on the up, and what does it mean to actually meet the same person, but when they're very, very much down, so when they're actually depressed? That's difficult to explain, but very powerful to experience. So before you go out, and before you actually start meeting some of these people, 360-degree videos allows you to get that very near reality experience, so you understand what it is that you're actually meeting when you get out. And the same with some of the other videos that are on here is actually another resident that is diagnosed with schizophrenia. So what does that mental health condition actually mean? What does it mean for the person, but how does it make you feel? And I think that's where virtuality, particularly when it comes to healthcare and other type of jobs, where you have to have some sort of understanding and emotion with you. How does it make you feel? What does it make you think? What does it make you doubt? What is it that you can actually do and do different in different situations? And these type of virtuality experiences through a 360-degree video, it helps you understand that. It helps you to talk about and also start to understand what it's like for both the patient and also for you as a worker to be working and also living with. These next slides, if you go from left to right, it's a virtuality experience that's created for it's personal hygiene. So it's healthcare assistants and how they perform personal hygiene. This is as a resident room at a nursing home, but it could just as well be in their own homes. And what it does is, from left to right, is the first picture, it introduces the situation. So this is what you now got. So it gives you the case. So this is the patient you actually got. This is how you use your virtuality controllers when you actually get in there. And so it sets the student at ease. So it allows that, right, this is the room, this is the situation, this is how you're now going to handle all these hardware you've got as you need to do all these problem solving when you walk through the door. And then you walk through the door, and then everything in there, in that room, is as close to reality. It's actually based on reality, so everything is as you have to do, and the task you have to do with a patient. One, you have to wash your hands, so you have to disinfect. And just really thinking about all these things we've got with COVID-19 at the moment, how important is it to understand how and why you should wash your hands and also disinfect, and how you do it as well. Not just you put your hands in and magic, your hands gets washed. No, there are certain ways of doing it. And it allows you to bring in other medias into this, like videos, so it can actually show you how to wash hands and why you're washing hands. And then the third picture is actually meeting that patient and having to both clean and also move the patient. What sort of movements do you have to do? How do you clean? What does it look like? And one of the very special things about this particular virtual reality experience is that they've also created the sense of smell. So in cleaning situations with patients, obviously there can be certain smells, and for students it's very difficult to maybe understand, and also to so when they meet some of these situations and when they're in front of a patient and they didn't know what to expect, then the other senses we've got, like smell, actually knowing what that is. And so it doesn't suddenly rush over you like a massive surprise that it really frightens you. So getting over that and being able to understand why you stand in front of a patient, and what does it sound like, what does it look like, and also what does it smell like. Very, very important. And it allows you to do that. It brings all the senses into play. Again, something that I can see is starting to happen really quite a lot in virtuality. It brings all senses into play. And the final picture is practicing what it's like to actually, to the medicines that you have to pick. So that part of it as well. So not just in terms of what they look like as packets, but also you're able to explore what they actually are and what they do, and some of the things that you as a worker actually have to be aware of. So it takes all the students through all these different ways of what does it mean, how do I start looking after people in healthcare. And just very, very finally, I'd like to just introduce something brand new that we're able to do now, and how we're able to bring new things into the classroom that's linked to jobs. And it's really how we bring data from satellites and right down to first responders. So we can actually do that now. Well, before augmented and virtual reality, the satellite data would be just like it was at the top picture there. So at the top picture, we can see that there are lots of dots, and all of those dots, especially the red dots, are bad news. All those red dots means that this particular area, there is some sort of danger in this area that needs to be looked at, and those dangers sometimes are not being translated or shown to others than very clever data scientists, and certainly not first responders. But we're now able to take all that data that comes from satellites and bring it down to some of the pictures that we see below. So that data actually becomes a use, something that first responders or people that work within healthcare, and they need to be able to understand how we can respond very, very quickly in disaster situations. It can be floods, it can be hurricanes as well. It could be anything that affects how we live in the different parts of the earth that we actually live in, but making it actually understandable to first responders. What would happen in a flood situation? What would happen in the hurricane situation? And we can use all this satellite data now and put it into 3D form and also simulation form. So it helps us to do a job better. It helps us to look after each other better. And it also helps us to actually give lots of information to students in education, so they can both get a very, very broad area of interest, they can start exploring different things that it's possible to do in the education, and also take all those interests and all those experiences out once they move on and find out, like, okay, well, the job for me is this, and or they can either be that science or building professions or in healthcare. Lots of different ways where we can use traditional data and how we've traditionally looked at the world and how we bring that into the classroom. And that completes the presentation for me. It's been a journey. It's been a journey from jobs, skills, how are we actually seeing virtuality? How is it different from anything that we've got so far? And how are we actually starting to see some of these jobs and skills, and how we bring them into the classroom, and how so the students can actually take them out to the classroom again and understanding more, being better at, and skipping over these issues, some of these things that we hear, I can't do, I don't understand, I'm not very good at. And I think that last thing about I'm not very good at, it's what virtual reality can definitely start to put a big, massive, fat question mark on, because I've certainly seen many, many students that are very good at many things that they thought they weren't. And we can start to change that. So, questions, comments, anything you'd like to say, anything you'd like to maybe bring your own thoughts into? Very, very happy to...
Jen, I can put the raised hand up if you're unable to. Are you there?
Yep.
I'll put the raised hand up. Okay. Okay. There we go. Everybody, there should now be a raised hand button that just appeared to your right, next to the as such. If you click on there, I can put your megaphone and we can ask our presenter a question. I have one in there already. We have Leader Libero. Oh, I've just offered you the microphone, Leader.
Yeah. Okay. The question is, what you do is, do you collaborate with other organizations or schools in Europe, or is this exclusively a national project?
Right. At the moment, it's most of this work is actually through Danish institutions. It's actually a group of Danish vocational high schools that are doing this. And what they're doing is, rather than actually doing it each in their own, what usually happens is they're starting to get together to understand how all these jobs and skills, how we can actually use virtuality in education so we get better students out of it in the end. But what we're already doing now is starting to reach out to other European countries. I've got some excellent contacts in Netherlands. I've got some good contacts in Germany, Slovakia, Latvia, other countries as well. Because I think you're right. We need to be able to show this is what we've got for our education here. How we'll link into what you do. And I know, for example, over in Northern College in Ontario, in Canada, they're doing some amazing work with first responder education in virtuality. Northern College has got an amazing virtuality lab that they use for putting together some amazing virtuality work for firefighters, emergency crews, healthcare assistants, and it's actually the trick here is to make sure that everything that we're doing across the world, that we start to share it better. And we also use the students, and I think this is really, really important. We actually use the experience of the students. This is why it's not the best thing for me to stand here today, but what I would much rather have students actually standing here and saying, this is what's good, this is what can be better, this is how we would like the future to look like, and being able for these students to be able to work across countries. One example are the 4 girls that have been working with virtual reality and exercise. They were working within a Danish school, and they reached over to other girls over in Norwegian school, where they then compared their experiences and how they use the same virtuality material in both countries.
Just a follow up to this. This is. Do you plan to do this in a more organized way instead of just accessing individual schools or individual organizations? Have a sort of a broadcast that's much wider, or go through more official European channels?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
I'm already in touch with some EU Director Generals. So yeah, definitely. That is not only the aim, but it has to be like that in the future for the sake of so many students across Europe, so we can start not just all spending money in our own corners, but we can actually help the students to start understanding and reaching out and using the whole of the European education system as their playing ground.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Well, thank you, Lida. We have a second question from Bodymans. I'm just putting you on megaphone now. Now it's on.
Hi. Yes, thanks. This is a great talk. On your way through, you touched on a program at, I want to say ASU, where the entirety of a biology course is taught in completely in virtual reality. I wonder if you could talk more about that.
Right. Okay. It's a complete online
degree.
Yeah. So, and 30 of the different modules are actually taught in virtuality. So it's only it's I think you mustn't quote me on this, but I think it's the whole second year that's actually being taught in virtuality. So yes, it's being pieced together, complete, with the university being able to apply the learning goals, being able to make sure that every single mission, every single thing that the students go through, it matches up with the type of assessment they would assess if they had actually been physically on campus. So it was quite a complex program, and it was developed by or it was co-developed with Google as well. So Google was a partner in this as well, and yes, it's meant to I would say replace, but that's not the whole truth, because it's meant to supplement, because it doesn't take away the need for physical laboratories. Physical laboratories is still what we should aim towards, and what students should be using, but in areas, and it could be in areas that are far away from universities, it gives that opportunity for students to still being able to work in a near reality laboratory situation, and still being able to prove not just to themselves but also to other lecturers, universities, high schools, this is actually something that I can do, and therefore I should now get a scholarship, or I should move further on in this sort of field. So virtuality opens up for these opportunities. So for students that otherwise wouldn't have been able to access this, they now can. And not just can they access it, but they can actually also get some qualifications out of it as well.
Fabulous. Does that answer your question, Bodymans? Oh, he's off microphone. That's fine. Okay. Do we have any other people who wish to ask a question at the moment? If so, it's the raise hand button that appeared on your right-hand side away from the main menu. If you want to click on there, and you can ask a question of our speaker. Okay, we haven't got any more there at the moment. Jan, I want to say, actually, can we all give Jan a great big hand for his wonderful presentation today? I thought it was very clear and concise, and gives us all a great deal of hope for VR for the future. Thank you very much, Jan. Fantastic talk. Are you able to
Thank you
stick
very much
around
for having
for? Are you able to stick around for 10 minutes if people want to come and ask you something when
Of course,
we're
yeah.
ordinarily talking? Okay, thank you very much. Fantastic. I really enjoyed that. I shall see if I can. Oh, hang on. We have another question. Has
Yeah, please.
appeared.
Wonderful.
Let's see. It is. We have somebody called Chelsea. Oh, I think she might have gone because it's not occurring online. Okay, I think that's one that has actually disappeared from the space already, so we don't have Chelsea. Okay, right. Okay, I'm going to unmute everybody, and I think feel free to come and talk to our speaker, etc. If I can.
And also, Jan, you can join us in our social space that will be opening up soon. A disco with Trash Panda and one of our students, Buddy, who I saw in the audience a little bit earlier. Buddy, are you there? Buddy's over there raising his hand. And so please come up and talk with Jan if you have any more questions. I know that there are people from the American Indian Resource Center in Oklahoma that want to speak with you. And if you can make it to the social space, you can talk and dance, which will be an even better way.
I've been looking forward to that, actually. Yeah.
Hooray.
Okay, and so Bodhi mentions from the American Indian Resource Center, and there's some other people, so let them come up on stage too and socialize. Don't forget there's a social after this also, a little dance social with Buddy coming up soon. Okay.
Hooray.
You hear Buddy? Yes. Where are you, Buddy? Oh, go. Oh, do I need to go help you in Trash Panda?
No, Trash Panda isn't online yet.
Oops.
Let me not megaphone myself. Let's let me take myself off megaphone. I'm gonna take myself off megaphone. Okay,
It's me.
Hi. Here we go.
Hi.
Over here, buddy.
Have you spent a lot of time working in London? Your accent is extremely
I'm stepping out of my boundary. He's not
English.
Okay. No, he's not.
Yes, is
Are
the
you
answer.
able to get into the space?
Yes.
If I was allowed, I could
Okay,
turn
I'll
on
go there with you right now,
a
and then
really good
we
backcountry
can-
accent as well.
we can
But,
see what's gonna happen, and we'll
I'm not
we
going
will,
to be drawn.
figure it out.
No,
together.
no,
I'll
because
meet
you can
there
drop
right
your
now,
T's
okay?
the way that
I'll go
lots
with
of
you right now.
Londoners do as well, which I thought was interesting. But
No, yeah.
Your
I've,
F- your
I've,
S's.
I've worked in.
Yeah,
I worked in.
your
Greenwich,
S's still
I've
sound very
worked in
Danish.
Bromley, and
Yeah.
worked across London in cross London roles as well. And then I worked up in the West Midlands and worked across the four Black Country local authorities of there: Wolverhampton, Southwell, Walsall, and Dudley.
Fantastic, yeah. Dudley. Yeah. Hi, people. Come and talk. Is that you, Ariel? Are you sneezing?
Yeah.
Have you stopped sneezing now?
No.
Hi. Yeah, but so what makes you say that then? Why don't you think you can do it?
Because of hard school, like math, science, social studies.
Is that because you think you can't do it, or is it because when you try, it's not really working?
Yes, both.
It's because well, because I've met many students in my time, and sometimes they say, "Oh, I can't do this," and then if I, for example, when I try out the virtuality, suddenly something happens, and suddenly they forget that it's maths or chemistry. It suddenly becomes part of the story, and that story suddenly opens up part in the brain that they never thought was there. So they're able to work out maths solutions. They're able to suddenly work with chemistry and physics, and I thought, and then the end, wow, that was easy. And then when you actually tell them that was physics, they suddenly think, okay, so I can do it.
Gesundheit. Bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you.
I saw Chelsea somewhere around here who I tried to megaphone earlier, but the megaphone didn't turn on, and she's muted. Is she still here? Oh! Try and mute yourself for those, Ariel.
Goodness.
I totally lied.
Oh dear. Do you have allergies?
Yeah,
No.
not really, but like kind of.
Yeah. That's Nikki. Where's Chelsea gone now? She's still here. She was next to me just now. No, can't see her. Okay, the social event starts in 5 minutes. If you go to events and have a look at the social event enter button, which should appear in about 2 minutes, I imagine. It won't appear quite yet.
I can put a photo for it whenever it opens.
Yeah, it won't be quite open yet, Ariel.
Yeah,
In 2 minutes.
I
Yeah, probably about